And now let's talk sun safety. What can we do, Lois?
Sun safety is a big topic. Fortunately, there's a lot of options that we have to help us be protecting ourselves from excessive sun exposure. So we have even simple things like paying attention to the weather reports, looking for the UV reports. Cloudy days do not mean sun-safe days. If the UV is the strongest at a number 11, even a number 3, which is moderate, requires extra attention to sun protection. Look at things like sunglasses. And I know one of the things I've been excited to see this year is I've seen a lot of even very small little people wearing sunglasses. Getting kids used to wearing sunglasses early so that it becomes part of their usual routine. So protecting your eyes, do look at your sunglasses. They should provide a broad spectrum UVA, UVB protection. So sometimes they will say, like they will have the number 400 on the glasses. Sometimes it will say UVA, UVB 100%. Get a broad spectrum sunglass. You can get a variety of styles of sunglasses. So there should be one that you can find that works well with the activities that you're choosing to need those sunglasses for. Sunscreen. Well, sunscreen. There's enough sunscreen options out there to kind of make your head spin. So the recommendations are that you put sunscreen on before you go outside. If you forget, if you have a spontaneous, I need to go for a walk right now and don't have time to apply it ahead of time, apply it as soon as you remember it. So do keep up with your sunscreen. The recommendations are to apply sunscreen liberally. They say that an average person takes 2 to 3 tablespoons of sunscreen, or about 45 mils of sunscreen. Use an SPF. The recommendations had been for an SPF of 15. They're now for an SPF of at least 30. So we should be having an SPF of at least 30 before we go out. Read the label. The sunscreen brands vary between how often they recommend for reapplication. If you can find ones that are water resistant, like a broad spectrum water resistant, but still read the label. Some of them will tell you that you need to reapply at least every 40 minutes. Some will say reapply as soon as you come out of the water. I found one brand that said you could reapply every 2 hours. So do look at the actual sunscreen container and plan for reapplication. Don't forget your ears, your lips, all those little bits of you, the back of your neck, all those things that don't get exposed to the sun very often that we tend to forget about. Using sunscreen also helps to avoid things like, I call it silly tans. So somebody has worn their glasses all day. They come out at the end of the day, they didn't sunscreen their face. They now have big white circles around their eyes. And everybody at the campsite then teases them for their silly tans. So, proper sunscreen application can also avoid silly tans. The other thing to look at is read the package for an expiry date. Sunscreen has an expiry date. It is made up of various chemicals. Every single brand I looked at in the store had an expiry date. If it is expired, you need to get new sunscreen. Be prepared to purchase enough sunscreen so that, especially if you're looking at a family, make sure that you are putting sunscreen on your little ones as well. They may wiggle and squirm and giggle as you're doing it, but that's okay. They need to be sunscreened. They need to have the sunscreen reapplied. We do want to start preventing sunburns early in life if we can. The more sunburns a child has, the more it does then bring with them into the adult more risks of skin cancer. Depending on where you are in your journey through the renal and through the kidney health journey, you will need to be more aware of sunscreen and even around checking your skin regularly for any signs of changes so that they can be intervened on.
It's a great idea, and particularly as a transplant patient, they recommend you have an annual full body check by your doctor or a physician once a year, so that just to ensure that you don't have any skin cancers developing. That is something that I'm lucky enough to have a family doctor and able to do, but if you don't, you could use a walk-in clinic. You can always use your spouse or your partner to do that, and if you note anything, then speak to a medical professional about something that has changed on your body.
The Canadian Cancer Society has launched a Get Skin Help app. It has been in testing for the last few years. I did go and look at the app. It is up and it is active. So it is through the Canadian Cancer Society, and it does have an option on there of photographing moles and spots and having somebody look at them and giving you a recommendation on whether they need further follow-up. And with sunscreen, try lots of brands. The recommendation is that if you are wearing makeup, that the moisturizing level that's first on your skin has a sunscreen. That's where your SPF should be, first on your skin, rather than trying to add it on top of makeup. So moisturize with a SPF containing sunscreen. The other thing is that there's a whole new, well, not new, it's been around for a while, but they're getting more and more easy to find. That is the protecting fabrics. So if you look online and just look at, you can find lots of different clothing styles that are designed to have what are called UPF, and that's a protection factor. The higher the protection factor, the higher the protection. So you can buy lots of clothing that gives you the sun protectant, that you can buy a nice beach cover up to help with increasing your sun protection from that. And hats. I know the hat should have a big broad rim, something that's going to cover the tops of your ears, the tops of your shoulder, the back of your neck. But for a true, if you're looking at a hat for a sun protection purpose, broad brimmed, as broad as you can get it. So find shade, go find trees, be thankful for people in the city planning departments that have put trees in parks and benches under those trees so that you have a nice shady spot to go and sit and enjoy the summer watching people go by. If you have an option of taking a little pop-up shelter with you to the beach, take that so you have a spot so that you know that you're going to have shade and that you're not going to get there and go, I should have brought shade with me.
My daughter uses the clothing all the time because her little one hates sunscreen, and she has such trouble putting it on that she buys him the long sleeve little shirt and a nice big hat and, you know, some longer pants that he's mostly covered. So really it's his feet that she has to sunscreen, because don't forget the top of your feet. I know if you are not used to being in the sun and you suddenly take your shoes off, you can easily burn those.
I remember backpacking around Europe as a teenager and coming into some of the countries where the clothing options on beaches are much more relaxed, and having people burning parts of their skin that they were very unhappy that they burnt. So do be prepared if you're out in the sun. There are some fairly good literature out there. Like I say, the Canadian Cancer Society has stuff. Do be prepared wherever you're at on your kidney journey or just in healthy life. We need to be prepared. We need to have sunscreen. We should have it with us if we're out. We do need to reapply and to follow the directions on the products that you're using so that you can get the best use out of them. Check for expiry dates.
That's awesome, Lois. Thank you.